People keep saying the same thing. It's a buyer's market. Prices have pulled back. Inventory is up. The frenzy of the last few years, the bidding wars, the overnight over-asking sales, those days seem to be fading, and yet the one group you'd expect to show up and take advantage of the shift, they're not. Buyers are staying on the sidelines. The market looks like opportunity, but for reasons that go deeper than numbers, most people simply aren't jumping in. Let's start with the math. In October 2025, the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board recorded about 6,138 GTA home sales, roughly 9.5% fewer sales than the same month a year earlier, and new listings were higher year over year. And yet the market is muted. Seasonally adjusted sales slipped to near 5,646 units, the lowest 4-month reading since June, a clear sign that activity has cooled. The benchmark home price index in the region sits near 976,600 Canadian dollars, about 5% lower than a year ago. That combination, falling sales, modestly lower prices, higher listings, is the environment buyers dream of. So why the silence? It's tempting to reduce the story to one line. Prices dropped, buyers should pounce. But the reality is more complicated. Interviews, local reporting, and national polling show that confidence, not price, is the gating factor. People can be priced out by uncertainty. Job security, unpredictable mortgage conditions, and macroeconomic worries are keeping many would-be buyers on the bench. One poll found 82% of Canadians who don't own a home say buying one remains unaffordable, and 63% say they've given up on ever owning one. This is not irrational, it's risk management. If you want a headline for the pain point, look at condos. New condo sales in Toronto plunged to shocking lows. Only 53 new condo units sold in September 2025. For developers and investors used to pre-sales and flipping, that's jarring. In some pockets, the condo market isn't correcting. It's re-traumatizing investors. Explainable? Yes. Condos were the fastest-built slice of the boom. They absorbed speculative capital, and now that leverage has been exposed to higher rates, many buyers who drove demand last cycle aren't here. That leaves resale thin and pre-construction pipelines clogged. If sales are down and inventory is up, why aren't prices collapsing? Two reasons stand out. First, many homeowners are locked in to low pandemic-era mortgage rates. They're not listing at fire sale prices. Second, the balance of supply and demand is still uneven by property type and geography. Detached houses in desirable neighborhoods still attract interest, while condos in fringe areas are far weaker. The result is a market that looks softer in volume, but relatively resilient in headline price numbers. Let's dig deeper. Governments of all levels stand up, promise affordable housing, more homes faster, lower taxes for first-time buyers. Yet the policy picture is messier. One industry report found that in the first half of 2025, condo starts in the Toronto region dropped about 60% compared to a year earlier, partly because weak pre-construction sales led to cancellations and delays. Meanwhile, municipalities are still buried in red tape. Development charges are at historic highs, and the cost to build keeps rising. The question for buyers: are politicians making it easier for you, or are you still being squeezed out? The system says it's for you. The numbers say, not yet. Let's pull back further. Beyond supply and prices, there's a psychological layer. What happens when an entire generation starts to believe homeownership is not for them? A 2024 poll found that among Canadians who don't own a home, 63% say they've given up on ever owning one. Another survey found 80% of Canadians believe that owning a home is now only for the rich. For younger generations, the dream of owning a house is not just fading, it's being rewritten. If you're a buyer watching the sidelines, you're not just comparing houses, you're wrestling with a belief. Can I ever really belong to this market? The short answer: winners are often the patient and well-positioned. Those with stable jobs and cash can negotiate. Investors who had capital to weather the downturn can pick spots. But losers are many. First-time buyers who've been saving for years still face high entry costs and the emotional toll of an uncertain market. Investors who relied on constant appreciation are recalibrating. The market isn't equalizing, it's redistributing risk. One recent report: the GTA had 6,244 home sales in May 2025, down 13.3% year over year, while new listings jumped 14%. If you're not ready, you're locked out. If you're a buyer watching from the sidelines, here's pragmatic advice rooted in data and risk management. Get pre-approved. Know your borrowing capacity at realistic rates. Target pockets, not headlines. Citywide averages hide micromarkets. Some neighborhoods are stable, others in free fall. Consider the housing type. Detached homes in well-connected areas often move differently than condos or houses at the urban fringe. Price for contingencies. Have emergency savings. Assume rates may rise or your income could wobble. Talk to professionals, lenders, accountants, agents who are actually seeing deals, not just repeating headlines. The window of buyer leverage exists, but it's narrow and depends on your personal resilience, not just market timing. What if the pause becomes a freeze? If new home construction falls too far, labor leaves construction, developers pull back, and supply dries up. The result could be a counterintuitive outcome. Falling prices now, followed by sharp uptick later. In fact, in Toronto, the rate of housing starts in the first half of 2025 dropped to its lowest point since 1996, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. For buyers, that means the same story may play out again. Overpriced housing, fewer choices, less leverage, unless the system actually changes. The GTA market today is less a single beast than a dozen different markets layered on top of one another. In some pockets, buyers hold cards. In others, sellers still carry the upper hand. The lesson, the headline, buyer's market, is real in the data, but not in the hearts of the people who need to buy. Confidence drives markets. Until confidence is restored, not by slogan but by stable jobs, predictable mortgage costs, and better policy that actually produces housing, the buyer's victory will remain theoretical. For now, Toronto's market is quietly rebalancing, and the people waiting on the sidelines may be the ones who decide whether that rebalancing is fair or just another way to shuffle risk. Would you buy in Toronto right now? Tell us why and where below.